Today we're going to start lying down on our backs, and we'll maybe need something under the knees for some support or not. It's totally up to you. And let's just first get comfortable, creating a little space between the legs and from the arms and the body. Feel the weight of the body resting down. Get in touch with the breath. Inhale, filling up toward the bottom of the lungs. Exhale, release the air. Let the organs sink back as you empty out. Relax the face and the jaw. Relax the shoulders down toward the floor. Breathing into the sides of the lungs as well as the front. And then breathing into the back of the lungs too. We're going to continue breathing like this, but we're going to put the neck into a stretch. So you're going to bring your right ear towards your right shoulder with your face still facing up. You're not rotating the head. You're just sliding the head over toward the right shoulder. And then we're just going to let the left side lengthen out. You're going to press your left shoulder away from your left ear. Jaw is still relaxed. Breathing deeply. And if you like, you can bring the right hand up over top of the head and just gently, ever so gently, pulling the head toward the right shoulder, creating a little more traction for the left side of the neck. And continue breathing deeply. Letting that left shoulder drop toward the floor, keeping the jaw relaxed. One more deep breath here. Don't move the head, but release the right hand and just let the head stay there for a couple more breaths. We're going to do our best to not use the left side of the neck to bring the head back to center. Instead, use your right hand to lift the head and guide it back to center. Rest at center for a couple of breaths. And then we're going to slide the head over to the left shoulder, face still facing up. So we're not turning the head. We're just bringing the back of the head to the floor, closer to the left shoulder. Relax the jaw. Let the right shoulder drop back. Keep breathing fully. Press that right shoulder away from the right ear. So you're pushing it down, creating some space. And then at the same time, if you like, you can bring the left hand over top of the head and gently pull the head a little more toward the left shoulder. Nothing too much, just a tiny little bit of traction. And then at the same time, pressing that right shoulder away. Breathing up toward the right shoulder. And then release the left arm, but leave the head. Take a couple of more deep breaths. And then use the left hand to lift the head and bring it back to center. Just feel the changes that happen between the neck and shoulders. Okay, so we're going to do a little work for the shoulder blades and the deltoids. We're going to start by crossing the arms over the chest. So the elbows are in line and maybe even dropping out away from each other. Your hands are directed toward your shoulder blades, but you don't have to hold your shoulder blades. You can relax here. And over time, with deep breaths up into the shoulder blade area, you'll start to notice a release. So let's just be here for a few minutes, breathing deeply, letting the arms, so the arms are not up here and they're not on the belly. They're right across the chest. And they're as far over to each side as they can be. And then relax. Take that breath up in between the shoulder blades. Keep letting the arms drop away from each other. Keep breathing fully into the chest and in between the shoulder blades. Maybe you can cross your arms over a little more now that you've released. Let's take 3 more really deep breaths here. So from here, we're not going to uncross the arms. We're just going to lift them up over the forehead. So it's almost like you're covering your face with your arms. Just make sure you have room to breathe. Still filling the lungs as much as you can. Breathe all the way up into the armpits. Take 3 more deep breaths here. arms over the head. You'll have to part the elbows and then clasp the elbows with your hands. Some of you may need something underneath the arms, like a block, because the shoulders are tight. So don't suffer through this if you're feeling already some kind of discomfort through the shoulders. It'll come. We're going to be loosening up here and everyone's going to feel something. So if it's intense now, support yourself a little bit. So we're clasping the elbows over the head, letting the arms drop to the floor, and continuing to breathe deeply, especially into the side body, up into the underarm area. Really fill the lungs to the maximum. Don't stop short at any point. Just go till you can't go anymore. You'll be surprised how much you can take in. And then empty out all the way, completely. And then again, filling up all the way. Let's take one more deep breath here. And as you exhale, lower the arms down by your sides for a few breaths. Just notice how the arms are feeling right now. Mine have a surge of energy and heat coming through into the hands. Maybe a little tingling too. Okay, so we'll bend the knees, place the feet on the floor. We're going to roll over onto our bellies. So I'll demonstrate this pose and then we'll come into it. I'm going to start with the left arm because it's a little easier for you to see. It doesn't matter really which arm you start with, although you'll understand me better if we start on the same. So let's try. Left arm comes underneath the right arm. and palm facing up. And then you're going to lie on top of your left arm. Use your right arm to support your head. Now, if there's a lot of sensation going on in the left deltoid, shoulder, arm area, you don't need to come all the way down onto your arm. Just come as far as you feel comfortable, and then little by little, as it releases, you can lay the full body weight down. So this arm is there to support you as well as control what's going on in the stretch. So this arm is at about, it's coming right across. It's not up here and it's not down there, it's right across. And then we'll let the head rest down. And of course, breathing deeply. Try to direct the breath all the way up to the shoulder blades. If your left hand is starting to lose circulation, then you're going to need to come out of it a little bit more. So roll a little bit more to your left side and then wait for the circulation to come back, and then you can come back into the full weight dropping forward. Let's take 3 more deep breaths. And then you'll press into that right arm and lift up enough to pull the left arm out. Bring the left arm into the position that the right arm was in, and we'll slide the right arm under, and then again, only come as far forward onto this arm as feels okay for right now. As it releases, then you can lean into it a bit more. Use your left arm for support. And of course, breathing deeply. Keep breathing up to the shoulder blades, expanding that upper body with the breath. Let's take about 3 more deep breaths. And then push down into the left arm, and we're going to come into Sphinx. So you have some options where the elbows go. Don't let the elbows be behind the shoulders. Under the shoulders or a little bit more forward. Depending on really what's happening in your body, you're going to need to just find that spot that works. This isn't really about the shoulders as much as it is about the upper back. So what we want to have is the chest dropping toward the floor between the shoulders. So we're actually going to pull the shoulders away from the ears and towards each other behind you. And we're going to allow the sternum, the breastbone, to pull forward. Now, a lot of people feel tension in the low back here, so in that case you tuck your pelvis under. So lift the pubic bone and then let the sternum reach forward. So you've got this dynamic pull in opposite directions. Neck is long, so we're not letting it up. You can drop it, but you don't want to be pinching it by lifting the head too much. So neck is long, shoulders are away from the ears, creating space. And you're broadening across the collarbones. Breathing deeply. This is a bit of work for the shoulders and the arms, but we just worked that out. It should be a little bit easier for you to access the strength for this pose. And of course, we're breathing deeply. Not here that much longer. This isn't one of the 5-minute holds. We're just doing 2 minutes. So let's take about 5 more deep breaths. And then let's come down, make a pillow with the hands, just rest the shoulders for a few breaths. Okay, so we're coming into flopping fish. So you're going to bring your left knee up alongside your body, like half a child's pose. So you don't want the leg out to the side. You really want it up underneath you. You're kind of on your right side of your body. You can just lay on your arm or put something under your head. And we're just going to hang out here for a little bit before we add to this posture. Try to relax through the low back and into the left hip. If you have pelvic bones that are pressing into the floor, you might want a blanket underneath you. The next step we're going to take is to bend the right knee. Now, a strap can be helpful here if you're having difficulty reaching that foot. You can also reach for the pant leg, but if you hook a strap, you will have something to hold on to, and otherwise you're going to hold your foot. And then relax through the right hip flexor and quad, front of the thigh. You can even lift the head and support the head with the right arm. Now this is going to take the stretch into that right side all the way from the knee to the elbow. Probably feel it mostly in your ribs. Okay, let's take 5 more deep breaths. This last breath, breathe right up into the right armpit. Really expand those lungs. We're really strengthening the lungs when we breathe like this. Okay, so we're going to release the right foot. And then slide your left leg down slowly. Pause on the belly. Take a few deep breaths. And then when you're ready, we're going to bring the right knee up alongside the body. As close as you can to your chest, not out to the side. Make sure it's cushioned enough. If you're on a hard floor, maybe you need something like either pull your mat over to double it or add a blanket. And we'll just be here for a little bit before we move on, breathing deeply. And if you're ready, you can bend the left leg and reach for the foot. Remember, you can always use a strap if you're not able to reach it, but you don't want to force it either. So if it's not feeling good at all, you can just skip this part, or you can occasionally bend the knee, and then when you've had enough, straighten the knee. Of course, breathing all the way up the side body, the left side. we can lift the head and support it with the left hand. Now extending the breath all the way up to the left armpit. Feel that length between the left knee and the left elbow. Take about 5 more deep breaths. And then release that left leg. And then slide the right leg down. And we're going to rest in child's pose. So when you're ready, push up onto your hands and knees and come into a child's pose. Knees together or knees wide, whatever feels good for you. Arms can be in front or in behind or under the head. And then we'll breathe deeply into the back. Take 3 more deep breaths. And then very slowly push yourself up, rounding the back, and then we're going to make our way onto the back, and you'll need your strap. So make sure you have it nearby. I have a mini version of a strap. It doesn't really matter what you have as long as you can hook your foot through it and you can pull, you're good. So now you could put the strap in the middle of the foot, but it wouldn't be as effective if it was on the heel. So try to get the strap on the heel. Now, this is the natural thing we think we're going to do here, and we might get there, but right now we're not doing that. What we want to do is we want to drop the thigh bone down into the back of the hip socket. So we want the leg at 90 degrees, and we're going to have a constant pull with the arms. So don't have the strap in your arms like this because it's not going to have the same effect. Reach up as high as you can. Your arms will be straight, but you're going to work at pressing the knee away so that there's this dynamic pull coming down. So you could resist it or you could let it happen. So we're trying to pull the leg down so that it's coming into the back of the hip socket. And there'll be some release through the sacrum. You won't feel it right away, but eventually you will. Keep sending the heel toward the ceiling and dropping the right side of the pelvis to the mat. And you may need to also send your right sit bone down. So if I didn't, I'd be kind of curled up like this, but then I'm sending it down, I'm making this space. And right away you're gonna feel something there when you push that sit bone toward the end of the mat. So do your best to keep that leg at 90 degrees. You can flex the foot, which makes it a little more intense, and breathe. Letting that leg drop, keep letting the thigh bone sink to the back. So there's some resistance in the sacral area, the area of the back of the pelvis. See if you can let that go. Keep letting go through the back of the leg, letting it drop to the mat. imagine someone coming around and pushing your foot down so that you've got the whole leg dropping down into the hip socket. So this releases this little area in the lower part of the sacrum toward the tailbone. See if you notice that. A few more breaths here. Take it to the next stage where we pull this foot over top of the left hip. So it's not very far over and we don't have this lifting off. As a matter of fact, you're still trying to drop it back into the floor. But now we're on a slight angle. You're going to feel this quite intensely on the outer edge of the leg, still pulling that thigh bone down into the hip socket. Breathing deeply. Now you're going to feel this a little further up the sacrum. Imagine that sacrum lying flat. So you're really trying to bring that right side of the sacrum down and the right hip down to the mat. Let the breath help you. Three more breaths. Bring the leg back up. Maybe we can pull it toward the shoulder just a little bit for a few breaths. And then we'll bend the knee, hug it in, and then using the abdominal muscles, release it back to the floor. Just notice how that leg and hip is feeling. It's definitely going to feel different than your other side. Okay, so we're going to pick up the left leg. And put the strap over the heel rather than the arch. And we're going to try to keep the leg at 90 degrees, so straighten that leg out. And at the same time, allow this to drop down. And then send the left sit bone toward the end of the mat. Breathing deeply. Remember the arms are way up here, not down here. You might want to flex the foot. Might be too intense, so you just decide. And then breathe deeply. Letting that thigh bone drop into the hip socket, to the back of the hip socket. Pressing the left side of the pelvis down into the mat. softening and letting go through the pelvis and the sacrum. And the hip. Okay, so we're gonna bring that foot over the right hip. It's just a few inches over. It isn't very far. My left hip is still touching down. I'm not so far over that it's lifted. And I'm still pulling the thigh bone into the back of the hip socket. So there's still this dynamic. I'm still trying to straighten the knee, although it's pretty intense with this pull. Breathing deeply. Just another 5 deep breaths. Okay, let's bring the leg back to center and then maybe give it a pull a little bit closer to your body, just for a few breaths. And then we're going to bend the knee, remove the strap, hug it in, and then hug both knees in. You can rock if you like. And then we're going to roll to the side. Take our time pushing ourselves up. We're going to prepare for our last posture. You're going to need a blanket. And we're going to roll the blanket so it's going to have a shape like this. And we're going to roll it tightly. Hopefully your blanket, if your blanket is thick, you don't roll it up too much. You just leave part of it unrolled. Mine's not too thick. So we're going to have this blanket behind us along the length of the mat. And you might want something under the knees like a bolster or another rolled blanket or a pillow. That's optional. Some of you may need additional support for the head, but you can decide that when you get there. So have something nearby. And when we lay over this, we're going to have our shoulder blades wrapping around it. So we don't want our low back on it at all. I know this is very dark and hard to see. This is the end. As I come back, it's coming just to the bottom of my shoulder blades and my head is supported. Now, if that doesn't feel like enough support, you might want to add something like this. And the idea is that your shoulder blades are now wrapping around and the chest is opening up, arms out to the sides. You can even have the arms in goddess, which really takes this open. And so we'll be here for about 5 minutes, breathing deeply, relax the jaw, and soften the eyes back into their sockets. And of course, breathing deeply into the chest. Keep letting those shoulders drop away. Take about 5 more deep breaths. Rock the head gently, side to side. And then bend the knees, place the feet on the floor. Roll to one side, off the roll, and protect your head with your arm. Take your time pushing yourself up to sit. And we'll close with 3 Oms, sitting up tall. Thumb and index tips for union with the universe. And take a deep breath. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaste.